Well, welcome back, everyone. So we have Noel again, and he, in this episode, is going to just wrap up the theme of linguistics that he's been covering over the last few episodes. So welcome back, Noel.
Hello, Mel. Thank you for having me again. Yes, so today we'll wrap up. We'll see what are the key points, right? So we'll start with the first one. Aramaic had such a profound effect on Arabic that Arabic today is undefinable. Therefore, we shouldn't be surprised that of the Aramaic influence in the Quran. Quranic Arabic is not the ancestor of Classical Arabic. They are two different Arabic varieties. And Classical Arabic emerged after the Islamic conquest. Now, so therefore, it's not surprising that the dialectical Arabic is not descended from Classical Arabic because the seeds kind of were already planted there. Now, it doesn't mean that Classical Arabic does not have influence on the dialectical Arabic, but if Classical Arabic was first described after the Islamic conquest, so it's not surprising then that the dialectical Arabic is not coming from classical Arabic. And if we had to look at the map, right, um, um, this is what the Arabs controlled prior to the first description of classical Arabic. So, what did the early Arab Islamic conquerors actually speak? Well, we have to forget about the sin, first of all. So we're looking at the yellow areas. And from what we saw in this episode, in this series, then we can conclude that they spoke from the article of Al-Jalad, that they spoke a variety of Old Arabic from South Syria. And if we consider the article of Al-Sayed and Wilmsen that the features were astratal to the Arabic, then they were at least in part bilingual in Aramaic as well. And therefore, although the linguist makes a very important question, which is what kind of Aramaic they were speaking, and this needs more research. And therefore, it's not surprising at all of how Aramaic left influences in Tamazight, in Spain, right? And when we saw about the word mesgida, in Aramaic mesgida, and in Spanish mesgida. Though here we have to caution as well, and I draw the audience attention to the linguists. As well argument that it may actually come from Yemen. Now, if we had,
Just so we're clear there, just in case
yes,
some members of the audience may not understand what that word was. So that is the word
mosque,
that mosque. Okay, so that's
yes,
word for mosque. So the evidence that you have provided suggests that the word originated in Aramaic. Can you just talk us through, just again, just talk us through the way the word gradually changed over time into Arabic and so forth. If you can
yes,
just
so
step us through that again, just a quick reminder.
yes, so it started from Aramaic, which was according to Al-Jalad, which was Masgeda.
Yeah.
And then it left different variations in the Asia Minor, in Tamazight, and also in Spain. And in Spain, then from Masgeda, then we have Mesquita, and also from the same Aramaic word, we have the Arabic Masjida. And from Mesquita, we find it in Maltese as well. And in Maltese, we find both varieties actually. We have both Mesquita and Masjida. Sorry,
So
Masjid.
and
And
actually, and just on that, the key thing there is that Jews were referring to their synagogue as a mezquita.
as uh, as Masjid as well. Yes, they
What?
actually yes the as Masjid. Sorry,
Yeah,
no Mesquita. Yes,
mezquita. Yeah.
Mesquita. Now I remember. Mesquita was also the word that the Jews were using for synagogues. And in fact, the Grand Synagogue of Palermo was called La Mesquita de Palermo. Now we have also
Which
to keep. Mhm.
Yeah, so just to emphasize this point, because what that suggests is that this word goes all the way back to the Aramaic, and it was a word that was used by Jews for their place of worship, parallel to the Greek version, which is synagogue, and so that word was being used both by Jews and Muslims for their place of worship,
Yes,
and eventually it died out in Malta, but the only place that retained it was for the mosques.
yes, yes, exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Because also um, yeah, but also we have to remember to keep in mind as well of the Yemeni can be an alternative as well. And as we shall see, if because we cannot automatically rule it out, because if we see the crosses are all the features in Maltese. So we have both the Arabic of the eldest Proto-Maltese coming from Libya, specifically in the eastern coastal regions of Libya. We have Old Arabic from the Levant. We have Yemeni. We have Aramaic and Arabic Levantine. We have Maghrebi. We have Berber. We have Al-Andalusi. We have Siculo-Arabic, and we have Tunisian. So these are all the features that we have. So as you can see, um, both Yemen and also the Levant have influences in Maltese. Now, the Levant more because you have the base, which is the Old Arabic, right? Uh, in which they still don't pronounce the dad and the za is not pronounced. Oops, sorry. But we have also a Yemeni features, vestiges of Yemeni. But we also have also Aramaic, which is Aramaic both in the lexicon and also Arabic Levantine features, which are ultimately they come from Aramaic. So also we must not forget that Yemeni was a major component of the early Muslim conquerors, and so how it's very particular of having this Yemeni there, it kind of means odd. So what are the candidates for this upward movement? So you can have either Tayaya, which I took it from your presentation, Mel. They moved from Yemeni to the northern Hijaz in the 2nd century, or else, as the linguist proposes, in the century before the advent of Islam, right? In which you have Aksum, which are Christian, sorry, Himyar, which were Christians, attacked Jewish Aksum, and this led to Jewish refugees into the Levant. Now, what is also interesting about this Yemeni component is that in the 8th century in Andalus, we have a Berber rebellion against the Arabs in Spain, and the Umayyads brought a Levantine Jude. And this Levantine Jude from the Levant comprised mostly of Yemenite Arabs. However, by the time that Malta was conquered, which is 100 years after this map, the Yemenite component probably waned because the commander was called the Ethiopian. Now, okay, Ethiopia is not Yemeni, um, but it may we may have still like a trace of because things don't change abruptly; they change slowly over time. So, and if someone is called the Ethiopian, let's say, it means that it's a distinguishing feature. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So all this points to a long, complicated evolution of Islam rather than the simple binary of the sin. which describes history as post-Muhammad and pre-Muhammad. And therefore, this is why I think it is worthwhile to investigate not only the 7th century, but obviously the 7th century is very important, but the periods before and after also give clues as to what happened in the 7th century. And here I have, give, for example, an example. I read in a history book once that the Second World War happened because of the First World War. The First World War happened because of Napoleon, right? So in the same it's an analogy, and in the same way, we must actually look beyond the 7th century, both before and after.
Yeah, to get the full
For
picture.
Yeah, exactly. For example, in the series, Mel, that you did about the poisoned Qibla arrows, it's very interesting to see what Benjamin of Tudela has to say when he's describing the interactions between the Jewish exarch and the Muslim caliph. And this is about if I remember correctly, in the 11th century. So we're talking about 400 years after Muhammad, and yet we have this interesting uh, interaction that it shouldn't be, right? If we listen to the sin.
Yeah.
And also that there are clues in your other presentation in this, how we have sculptures and paintings by the Umayyads, and as Dr. Henry Abramson describes as Aramaic still being important in the Spanish Jews until the 11th century. Also, the links between oops, also the links between the Spanish Jews and the great Jewish academies of Pompedita and in the Mesopotamia, and which at first were ended up being funded by the Spanish Jews, and ultimately they were eclipsed by the Spanish Jews. And as the Jewish academies died in Mesopotamia, the Spanish academies rose to take their place. Also, we have very interesting in Spain, the Muslim Umayyads having drinking parties and poetries. I imagine them something, um, sorry. We see in Spain the Muslim Umayyads throwing drinking parties, drinking wine with the Jews while singing poetry, dueling poetry with the against each other, Muslims, Jews, and it's like a big party. And this is something that when the Almovarids, if I remember correctly, then conquered Spain from the Umayyads, they were astonished by what they found. What the Muslims, first of all, drinking alcohol. Secondly, poetry with the Jews. What's going on? If you read Sahih al-Bukhari, for example, you find that one of them, I remember it correctly, it says, better have a belly of pus than have poetry in your belly. So how come are these Muslims, the Umayyads, are have, having acting this way? What is also
Yeah.
interesting,
It seems like the Sen is trying to wipe that history of the Umayyads and just restart it with the Abbasids with a fresh outlook.
yes, but it's
Yeah.
yes, and this leads me to the last point, which is in the 10th century, just as what you are saying here, right? We have an Arab Muslim travel writer and geographer from southern Turkey, right? And Ibn Khawqal, and he went to Sicily in the 10th century. So we're talking late 1900s, right? And he's saying, what are these Muslims here? They're not really Muslims. And he called them apostates. But what is interesting is that he didn't use the Arabic word murtad, but he used the Jewish word mushmithun. And it comes from Hebrew meshhumadim. So I hope that now I made the case that we shouldn't in, be focused solely on the 7th century, but we should broaden a bit our periods of investigation to give us more clues on what actually happened in the 7th century.
Yeah, excellent. Just one thought I had as you were going through that brief thought is you can see very much that all the influences can connect to Malta via the sea, so people can travel directly across the sea. Even with Yemen, I'm sure there's once you get up to Egypt, there's probably a passageway, even if it's a short way across the land.
No,
So I think that makes it more doable.
in Yemen there are harbors,
Oh
if I
no, I do
remember.
mean oh no, I don't mean there's no. What I mean is if you took a ship from Yemen
Yes.
to Egypt, I'm
Hmm.
sure there's a way of getting across to the Mediterranean. Maybe you have to do a short track overland. I'm not sure there wasn't the Suez Canal, but I'm sure there would
No.
probably a short distance across. So it's doable to foresee people traveling and spreading their lingual influences onto Malta from all these places. And they once they were on the ship, these distances didn't matter, and over the centuries, all these influences were gradually coming in.
I,
So,
what is interesting, I think, is that when in the 1750s, when the Umayyads got reinforcements, they got Yemeni reinforcements. So the soldiers were Yemeni, and ultimately it kind of led to a civil war, if I remember correctly, between first it was the Berbers that revolted, and then um, uh, s- uh, when the Abbasids took over, there was kind of a split as well between these reinforcements with the Arabs fighting with the Yemenis.
excellent.
So,
All right.
yeah, at
So,
the end of if I would just make one last comment, I would really like to thank all the scholars that have made their articles online, especially Dr. Owens, Dr. Al Jalat, Dr. Al Sayed, Dr. Al Wilmson, and also Dr. Abramson. And I would like to thank you, Mel, for your questions because this is not the final presentation, kind of. As I was going along, you were asking me questions, and it helped me get a clearer picture. And also, I would like to really thank the linguist for his contributions because, as well, he made me have a clearer picture of what was going on.
fantastic. So, thank you so much for dropping by and sharing all of your insights and research. So, I'm sure we'll continue the series in a couple of weeks now after the Christmas, and I'm sure you've got lots of interesting insights beyond the linguistic side of things. So, thanks very much, Noel, for dropping by.
Thank you. Bye bye.